And his visit to China. Another sort of news, however, has emerged from the presidential quarter. We turn to Melissa Gardner at KZAB in Santa Fe with this breaking news. Melissa?
Thanks, Richard. Today, a local Firefly girl accused the president of sexual misconduct. This photo of the president with the girls was taken during their recent tour of the White House. The girl claims that the sexual misconduct occurred inside the Oval Office. Her attorney says there are no plans yet to hold a press conference. Right now, folks in Santa Fe and the rest of America are waiting for a response from the White House on these harsh allegations.
I mean, first of all, I don't think it has anything to do with, Clinton, and that we weren't chasing any specific thing about, the Clinton administration. In fact, that's why I never really show a president, period, because you don't want to put a face to a president. It's really the presidency as opposed to a specific president. And I do think it is more the media in terms of how much manipulation is taking place on a day-to-day basis. And to the point that we no longer are quite sure where reality is and those things which are fabricated. And it gets to be, I think, more sinister as time goes along because you'll be able to do even more things, as we allude to in the movie, by digitally putting someone in another environment, so that if seeing is no longer believing, then where are we? And then we're really left to our own sense of morality, and how far does that play out?
We thought a year ago, when we finished Wag the Dog, that we had made a real good political satire. Today, it doesn't feel like satire. The events that have happened in this country, certainly in the past 4 months, are far more outrageous than anything we could come up with. As a matter of fact, if we had come up with some of these events, if we'd come up with a Linda Tripp and a Lucianne Goldberg, people would have said, write this out. This is too ridiculous. Please. I mean, so there's no more satire. And as a matter of fact, today I was having a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about Network. And I don't know when's the last time you watched Network, but Network has come true. By the time you see Faye Dunaway sitting down with this black activist talking about how she should do a talk show program with some white conservative, come on, this is CNBC every night of the week. Network has completely come true. Howard Beale screaming to everybody, saying, I can't take this anymore, and talking about how, what have you become? It's carnivals and jokesters and whatever else. And he goes on and says, this is what television's become. Jerry Springer, give me a break.
How much is that affecting us and confusing us is, I guess, issues that we'll just sort of debate. But it's a hard thing when once upon a time things were real and some things weren't real. And now we begin to blur those lines, between fact and fiction. Once the lines between fact and fiction blur, then we begin to become much more skeptical and much more cynical. And I think that's why sometimes certain information is presented and people don't know what to believe. And I think that's where we are right now.
I do think that film is like a face in the crowd, and Wag the Dog really do a public service, because it's when I was talking about our kids being raised more cynically now and seeing through a lot of the stuff that people used to just swallow whole. I think that films like that are a learning process. Just as Face in the Crowd was a warning, Wag the Dog gives us some insight as to how you could actually maybe start a war, which is incidentally not quite as far-fetched as it seems. All the way back to the Spanish-American War, a lot of people think that William Randolph Hearst, with his beating the drum for war and building up the atrocities and all this, and anti-Spain and Remember the Maine, all the rest of it, had a great deal to do with making that war. So it's happened through journalism. It's happened through radio. It's easier than ever to sell on television, which is so far the greatest means for selling commodities, whether it's beer or presidential candidates, almost interchangeably to what they hope are the gullible consumers.
The political film has never been a popular genre. And it's always been very difficult to get a political film made. I mean, I don't even really consider The Manchurian Candidate a political film. I consider it a thriller. I really do. It's a melodrama, as is 7 Days in May, that has political overtones to it, yes. But certainly in the case of Manchurian Candidate, every studio in town had turned that picture down until we got Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra was the biggest star of his time. So when he said he wanted to do it, it was very simple to get the financing from United Artists. But even after they saw the picture, they didn't believe in it. It wasn't until people had to tell them that it's really good that they finally got it. By that time, it was already out. 7 Days in May was a tough picture to get made. But because of the cast we had, Paramount did it. It's, as I say, I mean, I'm repeating myself, but it's never been easy.